Thank you everybody for joining me tonight. I'm so excited to be here with LifeVantage talking to you about our new products that are coming out in this field of nutrigenomics. So before we get started, let me get you a little bit of information about myself. My name is Michelle Lorenz and my background's actually in the law. I've been managing litigation for crane and rigging companies for about the past 20 years and absolutely passionate about what I did. Love, love, love it. But I've also concurrently been passionate about health and wellness. And so when people approached me with the information about these products, the science blew my mind. And so I looked at this the same way I would look at a case that we were putting on, a witness we were putting on the stand in a case, right? Like it was an expert witness. So I went and reviewed the peer-reviewed studies. I wanted to hear the testimonial evidence, not from people with the company, but people that were just customers. I wanted to make sure that the financial markets believed in this company. And then I wanted my own testimony. So I used the products for a couple months before I ever became a distributor. And altogether, that massive evidence, when I put my lawyer's hat on, that massive evidence convinced me that this was an opportunity that I just could not pass up because I knew it was going to be changing the lives of people and animals, both of which I'm very passionate about. So let's get started on the presentation and what you guys came to hear about tonight. So as you know, this anti-aging market, it is taking off. What you see here is, screenshots from Time magazine, and everybody's been focused on anti-aging to slow the wrinkles and to slow the age spots. But what's actually happening is this anti-aging market is blowing up because of the impact on disease. And what they're finding is that as we slow down the aging process, we can actually slow down the disease process. And so that's why the anti-aging market, this opportunity to delay human death, it's going to be increasing from 100 billion in 2019, this year, up to 600 billion in 2025. That is unheard of growth. And it's one of the things that piqued my interest because I knew if the market was going to grow this big, that there was a big opportunity for me as well to help a lot of people. So what do we do here at LifeVantage? We are unique in a nutraceutical company because we use epigenetics. So epigenetics is understanding how the environment impacts the way our genes express themselves. And those genes, they're just mere blueprints, right? We now know that only about 20% of our genes are hardwired. We have the ability to change up to 4 million different genes in our body. And we do that with this light switch called nutrigenomics. And so when we make a gene that does good stuff, do even more good stuff, that's called upregulating the gene. And if it's a gene that does harmful things in our body and we turn that dimmer switch down, that's called downregulating. And so that's what we do here at LifeVantage and why we're unique. Now, nutrigenomics is pretty simple. It's just the scientific study of understanding how food and food compounds impact our genes deep down at the cellular level. So if the science gets a little confusing to you, just remember nutra for nutrition and genomics for genes. So we're going to use nutrition to help change the way your genes are expressed. So I want you to think back to 100 years ago or even 1,000 years ago about what our bodies were exposed to as human beings. We didn't have pesticides and herbicides, and we didn't have GMOs and toxins, pollution. We didn't have cosmetics and cleaning supplies with toxins in them. We didn't have pharmaceuticals, even though they're good. Sometimes those create some toxins in our body as well. So all of these things you see on the screen have really wreaked havoc on our body that we haven't evolved to be able to handle. It's damaging our cells deep down at the cellular level. And so what we do here with LifeVantage is we want to teach you how to biohack. What that means is taking your life back. We're going to help you optimize your genetic potential, maximize your performance, optimize your health span, and ultimately not just help you live a quality of life, but help you extend your lifespan or the quantity of life as well. Now, this is a really important slide because it gives you a snapshot of the relationship between disease, chronic disease, and death, and how that significantly changes as we age. So what you see here on the screen is once you hit 40, every 8 years after that, your risk of death from a chronic disease doubles. And then it doubles again, and then it doubles again. And so I actually turned 56 this year. My risk of death is quadrupled compared to what it was when I was just 40 years old, just about 15 years ago. So this is a really big reason that you saw that forecast jumping from 100 billion to 600 billion. What we know is that there's this book, a great book by Dr. David Sinclair. He's a geneticist and a molecular biologist at Harvard. And he's been nominated as one of the 100 most influential people in this field. And he wrote this book called Lifespan. And in it, he says, listen, what we are learning now is in the past, people like him, researchers, geneticists, molecular biologists, they spent their time studying how do we treat a specific disease. But as you saw in that prior slide, you may treat cardiovascular disease and then somebody gets lung cancer. And so they were jumping from disease to disease because most people as they age get more of them, comorbidities, right? And so what Dr. Sinclair said is, look, we know now that if we can slow down the hallmarks of aging, that we can slow down the disease process. And if we can slow down disease, we can delay human death. He used a really profound example when he said, you know, if you get lung cancer and you are a smoker, your chances of getting lung cancer are 5 times increased. But he said your chances of getting cancer overall once you are older than 50 is 1,000 times increased. So that's why it's so important we focus on the hallmarks of aging. And so these are the 9 hallmarks of aging that he mentions in his book and that you can find in various studies all across PubMed.gov. So the first hallmark is epigenetic changes. That's what we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. We want to be able to turn on those good survival genes so that they can protect you the way they did when you were younger and turn down the bad ones so that they don't continue to harm you. We know cellular senescence, that's deterioration in our cells. And when that happens, we get inflammation. You may hear that referred to as inflamm-aging because it happens as we get older. You also see the next factor is more inflammatory molecules. This one's from improper or altered intracellular communications. We see lots of protein maintenance, deregulated nutrient sensing. Think about any old person that you know and their ability to absorb and utilize their nutrients in a proper way. That changes, right? Genomic instability or breaking in that DNA. We want to find a way that we can repair that DNA. And then, man, I love these last 3. Mitochondrial dysfunction is all the rage in medicine right now. Mitochondria and defective mitochondria are linked to so many different disease processes, but especially cardiovascular health and neurological health, because we have more mitochondria in our cardiovascular system and our neurological system than we do anywhere else. And then you may not have heard of telomeres. Telomeres are at the end caps of our DNA that protect us during the cell division process. You'll hear a little bit about that tonight. And then stem cells. Everybody's heard about stem cells. We also know that that's one of the hallmarks of aging. So what we want to be able to do is address these hallmarks. And here's an example of the diseases that are caused by oxidative stress on the left-hand side or associated with it, and the diseases on the right side that are caused or associated with mitochondria or dysfunctional mitochondria. Now here at LifeVantage, we don't treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease, but what we do is help turn on your body's own pharmacy so that it functions the way it did when it was young, right? And with that, we believe we can slow down the aging process. Now, we here have addressed the aging process on our products based on these different theories of aging. So the first one you hear about is called the free radical theory of aging. And this is basically saying those antioxidants you take, vitamin C and vitamin E, if you can take enough of those, maybe it'll neutralize those bad free radicals, those toxins that have hijacked our body. Some scientists dispute this because vitamin C and such have not been as effective as they hoped, but you're going to hear about tonight why the antioxidants our body makes are so much more powerful. The second theory of aging is the mitochondrial theory of aging. Again, when our mitochondria are healthy, we are healthy, and when they die, we die. And then the third one is SIRTUIN, and this is brand new. This is really brought to the forefront by a scientist at MIT and Dr. David Sinclair there at Harvard. This is the SIRTUIN theory of aging, and it's kind of the new rage. So we're going to start by talking about the 3 products that we have. So our Nrf2 activator came out in 2003. That is focused on oxidative stress and antioxidants and detoxifying your body. That addresses the free radical theory of aging. Our second product that we also pioneered was our Nrf1 or NRF1 activator. This addresses the mitochondrial theory of aging. And then our brand new product that is launching on September 30th, so just about a week from now, that is called NAD. And NAD addresses the SIRTUIN theory of aging. So let's start by talking about SIRTUINs and what they are. So what we know about SIRTUINs is they are called longevity genes. And there are 7 of them in mammals. All plants and all animals have SIRTUINs. They're just a family of proteins. But in mammals, there are 7 of them: SIRT1, SIRT2 all the way to SIRT7. And as you can see by this diagram on the left-hand side, this diagram is actually from a study that was published by that MIT scientist. And you see what he points out here that, for example, just with SIRT1, it's related to cancer, cardiovascular function, liver disease, metabolism, neurological disease, our inflammatory response, huge impact. And again, while we don't treat, cure, or prevent, or mitigate any disease, it's pretty amazing what our body can do when we just empower our body's own pharmacy, right? So how do SIRTUINs work? What we know is, unfortunately, SIRTUIN activity, those longevity genes, they decline by about 60% as we age. So at my age, at 50 years old, I have almost 2/3 less SIRTUIN activity than I did when I was 20. So what you see on the right-hand side is a picture of one of those SIRTUIN genes. That's actually SIRT2. Now, but what happens? What do we need for SIRTUINs to work? There's a couple of ways that nature has actually activated our SIRTUIN genes. One of them is called caloric restriction, or some people may call it intermittent fasting. We know that if you utilize caloric restriction, eating less than 500 calories a day, you can activate your own SIRTUINs. And that works because your body says, oh my gosh, we're in a time of famine. My body's being stressed. I need to send these things to help protect it. And that's what your SIRTUINs do. So a lot of people have used caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. They discovered this because they studied people, such as people in the Irish potato famine, people that had gone through the Depression or other hard times. And what they discovered is when their food source was deprived, that not only did those people live longer, but here's the crazy thing, their children also lived longer, even though they had never been deprived of calories. So it somehow activates those longevity genes and makes them work. But, not everybody can limit themselves to 500 calories a day or fast for a couple of days. This is one of the things called hormesis, like stressing your body so that your body responds to protect itself. There's a couple of other ways to do it. You've seen people do those polar plunges in the Arctic. So exposing your body to shock in the heat sense or shock in the cold sense can also activate your SIRTUIN pathway. And then in addition, high intensity exercise at a long endurance level, they can also activate your SIRTUINs. But now we have a problem. NASA, we have a problem. Our SIRTUINs can only work if you have NAD in your body. So what is NAD? It's so critical. And NAD is called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So this is just a coenzyme in our body. You see a diagram of the chemical function of it on the left-hand side. And what we know is NAD comes in two forms. NAD plus is the really important one that we're talking about tonight because that's the one that declines with age. And we know that we need NAD in our body for a couple of significant types of biochemical reactions. One is breaking down our food and turning that food into energy for our metabolism, for our cellular health, and if you're an athlete, for your ATP, your energy, right? But here's the other great thing, and keep this in mind as we go through the presentation tonight. We also need NAD to help other protein molecules. So you're going to hear about NRF1 and NRF2 tonight. You're going to hear about how NAD actually makes those even stronger than they already are. So what we know, again, unfortunately, is NAD enzymes are critical for SIRTUINs, and without NAD, those longevity genes, they can't do what they do best in protecting us, right? So think about NAD kind of like the fuel for a car. You may have this beautiful Mercedes-Benz, right? But if you don't have any fuel for it, it's not going to work. So NAD is just as critical to SIRTUIN activity as gasoline is for a car. So what did we do here at LifeVantage? We used epigenetics once again to find a way to flip the switch, to help your body feel better and do more to protect itself. So this on the screen is what you see is our NAD activator or NAD synergizer. It is a member of our Protandim family, so our third Protandim product. And we have a clinical study coming out that's going to show that it will increase your SIRTUIN activity by up to 100% in just 24 hours. After a few hours, just about 3 hours, it goes up by about 30%. So we love this product because we're able to feel a tangible impact almost immediately. So what is in our product? We use all natural herbal ingredients, Ayurvedic principles, and what you see here are the 4 ingredients in our NAD Activator. Wasabi is on the top. That is in the broccoli family of isothiocyanates. It's great for metabolism and a whole bunch of other genetic processes. On the bottom left is olive oil. We all know that that's fantastic, especially for cardiovascular health. You see there that olive oil promotes a healthy lipid profile, supports your gene expression. It supports autophagy, which is basically power washing your cells and getting all of the cellular waste out of them. And it supports your antioxidant activity. So you're going to hear about that more later tonight with Nrf2 as well. It has theocrine in it, which is a similar substance to caffeine without some of those side effects. And then a copper niacin combination that is going to help boost your NAD level. So this is what we use to naturally activate your NAD. What's pretty amazing is there are some NAD activators on the market that are precursors. So they don't use genetics. What they do is one of them is called NR and another one is called NMN. And both of those have been clinically tested. One of them increases your SIRTUIN activity by about 2%. The other one increases it by about 40%. So we're super excited that our product is standing alone. Now, what does Protandim NAD Synergizer do? First thing it does is it supports autophagy. Again, power washing your cells to get rid of those free radicals, those misfolded proteins. It supports your body's natural inflammatory response, helps support healthy cholesterol levels. So think about how powerful that is for your HDL. We know that it helps support a healthy vascular system. There's some amazing studies from some cardiovascular epigeneticists. Like, man, talk about somebody who specializes. Cardiovascular epigeneticists talking about the vascular health and how SIRTUIN activity and NAD is important to that. It also supports healthy liver function. And then for those of you that are athletes or anybody that's in the orthopedics world, supports joint health, helps with muscle recovery or DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. It boosts your ATP, so critically important for athletes. And here's what's great. Some of the studies they've done in mice at Harvard, as a matter of fact, they found that the mice that have had their SIRTUIN activity boosted using NAD, getting their NAD levels up, that those mice have been able to perform for about 80% longer. In fact, they tell a story that they even broke the treadmill because the mice were able to have so much more energy. Think about that if you are 50. Wouldn't it be great to be able to run around the track and boost your levels much like you did when you were in your 20s? So massive, massive impact in the athletic world. Lots of professional sports franchises are talking about how can they boost their NAD of their aging athletes. We know that it's also going to support mental focus and concentration, mood and motivation. The people that have been using this thus far, our top leaders at the corporate level, are raving about how it boosts their energy levels. And then what I love is it's actually going to help with your DNA and those telomeres, and you'll hear about that in a second as well. So this is one of our clinical studies that we did that's going to be released. You see previously we talked about caloric restriction, boosting SIRTUIN level by 94%. And our Protandim NAD activator boosts SIRTUIN levels by 100%. And then the 2% is one of the top competitors you see there in the market, only a 2% increase. Definitely better than what existed before, but we are really proud that we now have intermittent fasting in a bottle and the benefits of intermittent fasting in a bottle. So really, really a significant change for so many people in the world. Now, that's our NAD activator, but back in 2016, we also pioneered another activator called Nrf1 or Nrf1, and this deals with the mitochondrial theory of aging. So what are mitochondria? What we know is these little worms you see on the screen here, those are mitochondria, and one of them is called a mitochondrion. In your cells, you have hundreds, thousands of them. For example, a bicep may have only 250 mitochondria in each cell, but the heart muscle may have up to 50,000. So that's really important because our mitochondria are the engines of our cells. And what we know is that our mitochondria produce up to 95% of our body's energy supply. And the quality of your life depends upon the quality of your mitochondria. And so we see some pretty significant impacts on cardiovascular and neurological health because they have such a mass of mitochondria in those cells. So when there is a drop off, you see some pretty significant impacts on both of those systems. So our NRF1 activator, you see it here on the screen. What does it have in it? alpha lipoic acid, CoQ10, grape extract or resveratrol, quercetin, which comes from the onion and garlic family, and acetyl L-carnitine. If you are an athlete, you've probably taken L-carnitine before you've gone to the gym. Why? Because it boosts your energy, and this is why it works. So we use a synergistic effect here, and all of these combine to work better than any single one of them would alone. So how do they work? They enhance the functioning of existing mitochondria. They stimulate the production of new mitochondria. Then it limits the effect of cellular aging, again, that mitochondrial theory of aging. It supports your telomeres. You're going to see a drawing in just a second about telomeres. We also know it's significantly important for cognitive and brain health. It helps your circadian rhythms, your sleep quality, your REM sleep, your cellular repair, and obviously supports a healthy cardiovascular system. And then for you athletes, here we go again, increasing your cellular energy or ATP. If you can boost your ATP, you're going to get more oxygen to your muscles. If you get more oxygen to your muscles, your VO2 max is going to go up. And with a VO2 max increasing, you are going to be able to train more significantly. So huge, huge impact here with our NRF1 activator. We came out with this in 2016 when nobody else was talking about this in the market. Now, here's an example from a couple of studies. These are not our studies, but they talk about the impact of NRF1. And what you see on the right-hand side here is a telomere. So that little X-shaped thing is a chromosome, and that's what you carry your DNA, right? Your code for how your body works as a human being. The little green things on the end of this illustration are called telomeres, and they are the end caps, kind of like the end caps on shoestrings that protect your shoestring. Well, these telomeres are the end caps on our DNA that protect our DNA during the cell division process. And as we age, those telomeres shorten. So if we can find a way to protect those telomeres from shortening, it's going to slow down the aging process. That happens with both NRF1 and, if you recall back to that slide, with our NAD activator. And the other thing I'll mention with this mitochondrial theory of aging, that there's a little bit of an overlap between the SIRTUIN and mitochondrial theory of aging, because the genes SIRT3, SIRT4, and SIRT5 all impact mitochondrial health, just like Nrf1 does. So you're getting a massive boost to support your body's mitochondria. Now, we're going to talk about Nrf2, which was our flagship product, and I want to show you how those relate. So what you see here in the middle is a picture of mitochondria. And we know that we eat food, and we want that food to feed our mitochondria, which then in turn gives us energy or ATP. We go out and use that to think, to exercise, and then in turn, once we breathe in oxygen and we do those things, we produce more free radicals. And those free radicals ultimately result in oxidative stress to our cells. Remember those toxins that hijacked our bodies, right? And so that causes cellular aging. So how do Nrf1 and Nrf2 work together? Nrf1 actually boosts your mitochondria, just like we just heard, and Nrf2 impacts free radicals and oxidative stress, and it boosts our body's autophagy process, right? So this gets really confusing for people that aren't scientists. They want a simpler way. So here's a simple way to think about how Nrf2 and Nrf1 work together. Think about a fireplace. In the fireplace, you have logs on the fire. If you want a bigger fire, what do? You add more logs. That's the same thing you do inside your cells. You want more mitochondria in your cells to have healthier functioning cells. If you want even a bigger fire, you get the big logs. You want big, robust logs. The same thing with your mitochondria. Not only do you want a lot of mitochondria, but you want those to be big and robust and buff and healthy. And that's how you maximize or optimize your cellular functioning. But what happens when you burn a fire? Think about what happens at the bottom. You get soot at the bottom of a fireplace. Think of that soot just like the free radicals inside of your cells. And if you don't get the soot out of the bottom of the fireplace, your fire eventually will not burn the same. And so if we can get the free radicals out of our cells, it's going to help our cells function better as well. So let's talk about that Nrf2 and how that impacts the free radical theory of aging. So what we know about Nrf2 and oxidative stress is that when we're babies, we don't have a whole lot of free radical exposure unless you were exposed to drugs or alcohol in utero. You don't have a ton. And fortunately for us, our survival genes, whether it's Nrf2 or Nrf1 or SIRT, those SIRTUINs, they're all working at their optimum when we are young. But then we age and we get more oxidative stress, more free radicals, and it continues to increase the aging process because of that free radical exposure, but also because our survival genes, they don't work the same way. And that ultimately results in a process called inflamm-aging. So what is oxidative stress? Some of you have heard of the term, but unless you're in the medical field, you may not really know what it is. It's simply an imbalance between the antioxidants in your body and the free radicals, those toxins that have hijacked us. And so what we want to do is find a way to get more antioxidants in our body. But as I mentioned in the past, just taking vitamin C and vitamin E, that hasn't done the job of reducing our oxidative stress in relation to all of those toxins we've had. So what you see with oxidative stress, it happens when you're exposed to oxygen. The oxidative stress or oxidation on the left side of the apple, not on the right side. It's kind of like a rusting of our cells. If you see rusting on a car or the light green patina that the Statue of Liberty, those are examples of oxidation that have happened, right? So let me give you an example of how antioxidants work. What we know is a free radical, you see the illustration of it here in the middle, is missing an electron. And if you remember back to your biology classes, you need to have an equal number, balanced number of electrons so that a molecule is stable. Well, free radical's just missing an electron. And so it bounces around inside your cells, creating havoc and damage and destruction everywhere it goes. And what an antioxidant does is it takes its extra electron that it has and it gives it to the free radical to neutralize it. Now, this is such a critical, important process because we want to get those free radicals out of our cells and stop it right here at the cellular level. Because if we don't, you're going to get oxidative stress that builds up in your tissues, your organs, your whole organ system, and ultimately will impact your whole body. So that's why it's so important to control oxidative stress. And if you remember back to that SIRTUIN example, you will see that SIRTUINs also impact oxidative stress. So Nrf2 impacts it as well as SIRTUINs. Now, this is our flagship product we came out with back in 2003. We were a leader in this field of nutrigenomics and in this field of trying to address your free radical load. And how does this work? We've sold about 23 million bottles over the last 10 years, and we've got some amazing ingredients. So you've heard of turmeric or curcumin, ashwagandha, milk thistle, which is a great detoxifier, bacopa extract, and green tea extract. All of these things combine, and this is how they work. They help us flip that light switch, turn on over 500 different survival genes in our body so our body can protect itself. It slows down the aging process, that free radical theory of aging, by boosting our body's own super antioxidants. And it helps minimize oxidative stress. So that's what's really important to know. Our body makes antioxidants that are so much more powerful than any antioxidant you can buy in a store. And it's why we are seeing results in reducing the oxidative stress load. We also know that if we use our Nrf2 activator, it's going to help the body repair and rejuvenate some of its own cells. Some really cool studies even about repairing and rejuvenating DNA that's been damaged. And some of these antioxidants, these super antioxidants inside our body, they can neutralize up to 1 million free radicals per molecule. And then we have some clinical studies. So for me, and remember at the beginning, this is important. Science, it matters here at LifeVantage. We don't just tell you we think it works. We don't borrow studies from another company. What we did is we went out and did our own studies, not required by the FDA, but we did our own studies. So back in 2006, we did a study and it proved that our Nrf2 activator lowered oxidative stress in our bodies, measured as lipid peroxidation or TBARS, lowered that by 40% in 30 days. And then we have another study that came out about 10 years after that, that's the only all-natural supplement ever tested by the National Institute of Aging, which is the US government, the only all-natural dietary supplement proven to extend median lifespan in mice. So incredibly proud of the science that backs our company here. This is a recent study out of the University of Arizona that I wanted to share with you. If you recognize these 9 things around this gentleman walking with a cane, those are the hallmarks of aging. And so just like we talked about at the beginning, what you see here is Nrf2. It also impacts the hallmarks of aging, and you can see on the right-hand side some quotes from this study that Nrf2 activity goes down as you age, and as a result, oxidative stress goes up. But there's another study out of University of Arizona, ironically, that I wanted to share with you, and this one talks about Nrf2 being at the heart of cardiovascular health. And it's a phenomenal study, a review that goes through the different ways that cardiovascular health is impacted by Nrf2 activation. But again, if you see the references in the study, a lot of these things up here at top are about the hallmarks of aging once again. But importantly, I wanted to share this with you because we had nothing to do with this study. But the researchers and scientists down at the University of Arizona's med school, they actually wrote in the study that Protandim, our Nrf2 activator, it's a phytochemical, so that's plant chemicals, plant compounds, that this has been vetted in scientific journals and proven to increase nuclear Nrf2. So when people say, well, I'm not sure if I believe you, this is actually the university, one of our best med schools here in the United States, talking about how it has been proven in several different clinical studies to activate Nrf2. So a lot of people ask, well, I take good care of myself. I eat organic. I may already take a lot of supplements. Maybe I pop vitamin C. I drink green smoothies. Why do I need to take Protandim, NRF1, NRF2, or the new NAD activator? Well, this is an example of what synergy is, and this is the first reason. So we did a study back in 2009. It was funded by the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation and the American Diabetes Association. And what we see with this study is that synergy works with our product. So when we did this, we tested Protandim, our Nrf2 activator, and we tested each of these individual ingredients, as well as a control, which is called sulforaphane from broccoli, one of those isothiocyanates, right? And what we found is Protandim was 18 times more effective than any one of those individual ingredients. So those are good. Protandim is jaw-dropping, right? Now, how does this work? It's called synergy. For those of you that don't have a scientific background, think of synergy like a recipe for a cake. If you make a cake with flour and sugar and shortening and butter and baking powder and eggs, it could be a great cake, or it could be something awful that nobody wants to eat. That's because the recipe matters. That's the synergistic effect that happens with the recipe. And the same thing happens with our recipe here with Protandim. We have 7 US patents on this product, which is really rare for an all-natural supplement to have patents. But why do we have them? Because of the synergistic effect that has happened with Protandim. So what a patent means is for the next 20 years, nobody can duplicate our patented recipe. Now, this is a really important reason why you can't just go take another supplement. This is called an antioxidant hierarchy. So what you see on the bottom are the antioxidants you're probably familiar with: CoQ10, glutathione, vitamins A, C, and E. They're good, but those are the ones you get from outside your body. They're called exogenous or external to your body, right? And they're good. They stimulate your cells, but the ones at the top in the bright blue, those are those super antioxidants I mentioned earlier. And the higher we go up on this hierarchy, the more protective those antioxidants are. Now, what's great about those blue ones is only your body can make them. You cannot take a supplement of glutathione peroxidase or a SOD or catalase. So the only way to boost those levels is to get your body to make more, and that's what our Nrf2 activator does. You see here we have a clinical study that proves that it increases our glutathione peroxidase by 300%, improves catalase by 54%, and increases SOD by 30%. So that's so critical because glutathione, for example, it's called the master antioxidant. Not only does it do what it does best, it's phenomenal at detoxifying our body. 25 different detox genes are impacted by Nrf2 activation, but it also makes all of those other antioxidants on the chart more powerful as well. So here's why this is even more important. So in our bodies, we have about 130 sextillion free radicals. So look at all those zeros. That's an insanely huge number in all of our cells, crazy amount. Unfortunately, those free radicals can only be neutralized on a 1-to-1 ratio if you are taking exogenous antioxidants like vitamin C. The reason SOD and catalase and glutathione peroxidase are so powerful is because one SOD molecule, it can neutralize up to 1 million free radicals. And we have SOD in our genes all over our body, right? On all of our cells, all across our body. So that's why we're seeing a great impact. Now let's talk about those first 2 studies I mentioned. On the left here, you see a diagram. These studied 29 people from the age of 20 up to 78. And as you see them up here on the top, this is a measure of oxidative stress. This is what we call TVARS, or lipid peroxidation. The older people had the higher levels of oxidative stress. That was expected. What they didn't expect is down here on the bottom, after taking Protandim's Nrf2 activator for just 30 days, they could not tell the difference between the blood of a 20-year-old and the blood of a 78-year-old when it came to their oxidative stress levels. That Oxidative stress went down in just 30 days by 40% and up to 70% in 120 days. Really, really profound. So imagine what would happen if you took Protandim and activated your Nrf2 pathway for 30 days, 30 months, or 30 years. Well, the National Institute of Aging wondered, and this is what they found, that our Nrf2 activator was studied in a longitudinal study with several other products. And this is the only time since 1999 that the National Institute of Aging has tested an all-natural product and found that it increased median lifespan of male mice. So we are very, very proud of that study. Again, had nothing to do with that. Now, here at LifeVantage, science, it matters. It's a big deal to us. We don't just tell you our products do something, we prove it. And so there is a thing called a peer-reviewed study. Now, you may have seen on somebody's website for their supplement that they've got a study. If you cannot find that study on a place called PubMed, it means that it really is just a study done for sales, not for science. It's a study done just like an ad on the halftime of the Super Bowl. So peer-reviewed study is a really important process. What it means is a scientist does his research, comes up with his hypothesis, he tests the research, and then he sends his paper, writing up that research, to other peers, to other molecular biologists, MDs, maybe it's a geneticist, on various journals around the world. And that editorial board of expert witnesses on that journal, they review the study to see if it was conducted fairly, if there was any bias, if they agree with the whole process. And then and only then will they publish it in a peer-reviewed journal. Importantly, only about 10% of articles and studies ever submitted to peer-reviewed journals get published. So it's a really big deal to have a peer-reviewed study. Here at LifeVantage, we have 26 peer-reviewed studies and 2 more that are going to be published very shortly. And that is unheard of in the supplement industry. So where do you go to find those? You go to the US government's website. It's the National Library of Medicine. It's pubmed.gov. I know we have some physicians on the call here tonight. That's where they go. When they want to look up the new and evolving areas of medicine, they go to pubmed.gov. If you go to PubMed and type in Protandim, you will see our products there. A lot of people say, well, who did those studies? Well, these are some of the universities that have done the studies. Johns Hopkins oversaw the anti-aging study. Texas Tech did a study on the cells in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. You see Duke University, there's a study going on there right now called the ROAR study, studying ALS. People who have ALS and have had reversals, some of those very uniquely are using Protandim. We have LSU that did 4 different studies on the P53 gene, which is another longevity gene that impacts cancer and melanoma. Down at the bottom, you see that Mayo Clinic on the left-hand side, they did a study on an ovarian cancer patient and studied Protandim in the context of ovarian cancer cells and multiple myeloma cells. And then because of the cardiologist we have online, I'll mention to you as well that a study out of Virginia Commonwealth and Ohio State University both focused on cardiovascular health and on endothelial function. That's the lining of our vascular system. One of those studies was published by the American Heart Association in their journal called Circulation. So as I looked at this company and I vetted it, I did my due diligence. The fact that our product had been published by the American Heart Association, that was slam dunk credibility for me. And that's, again, unheard of in the supplement industry. So let me just show you a couple quick studies. This is out of Oregon State, the Linus Pauling Institute. They specialize in dealing with anti-aging and dietary regimens that you can use to slow down the aging process. They found that Nrf2 slows down aging. It's a longevity assurance factor. Washington State, again, not our study, they mention Protandim in here, but they also say Nrf2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. This is a big deal because Nrf2, think about that, the history of medicine, there's so many researchers that are looking at this. There's about 13,000 studies right now on pubmed.gov that deal with how Nrf2 is helping us help our bodies defend themselves. That same study out of Washington State talks about detoxification, and there are 25 different genes that are activated by the Nrf2 pathway, and these genes, they protect us from toxins like what's going on in the Flint water supply, the nail products you use, the pool chemicals, the Roundup, all of the toxins that are in our environment. And they actually say that this might be the most important cell protecting function of Nrf2. Now, for those of you that are athletes or you wondered how all of this works together, these are some different types of hormesis, right? Caloric restriction, we talked about that with SIRTUINS, exercise. What you see here, you see NAD mentioned here, and again, this is a study about the skeletal muscle and the mitochondria in our skeletal muscles. So you see the impact of NAD and ATP, and what does that do? It impacts the SIRTs or the SIRTUINs, right? And then what do those SIRTUINs impact? They impact NRF1 and NRF2 genes, and that ultimately impacts mitochondria. Now, quickly, I just want to talk to you about, this is a study that was written up about how do we impact Medicare. And one of those authors said, we really need to intervene with anti-aging interventions. So initially, this is like the lifespan of somebody, they're healthy. This is subclinical aging, and this is when they get age-related diseases in the turquoise. And they said, now what we've been doing is we've been intervening with just medicine, with medical interventions. And that extends lifespan, but it doesn't really help health span. People are still sick, right? They may extend the lifespan of a cancer patient or extend the lifespan of a cardiovascular patient, but they're still ill. What they wondered is what would happen if we put anti-aging interventions in when people are still healthy, and would that help them? And what their hypothesis is that people will not just live longer, but they'll live healthier. Dr. David Sinclair talked about this, and he's like, what if we intervened more? And so think about this. If you talk about subclinical aging, what if we give people Nrf2, Nrf1, and NAD? So we're activating and dealing with the different layers of aging, the oxidative stress or free radical theory, the mitochondrial theory, and the SIRTUIN theory. If we do all that, the medical interventions they hypothesize will happen later on in life. Additionally, we will have not only longer life, but a more improved quality of life. So really, really interesting what's going on with anti-aging studies right now. Now, here at LifeVantage, we have a couple other products. We're not going to focus on them tonight. We have Nrf2 activated skincare that arose out of those LSU studies. We just launched Nrf2 activated hair care. We have an amazing Nrf2 activated energy drink, and we have Nrf2 for your dogs and horses as well. So all mammals can benefit by Nrf1, Nrf2, and NAD activation. Now we're getting towards the end. I just wanted to show you who the expert witnesses are, because this was really important to me. I didn't want to just believe the salespeople with the company. I wanted to know what experts thought. So this is an example of some of the experts with our company, other physicians that are also distributors. All three of these on the top left are cardiologists. She's a double board certified physician in obesity medicine and internal medicine. This is a plastic surgeon. This is a pharmacist who has developed nutraceuticals. This doctor up here works with patients with ADD and ADHD. These people down here have their PhDs and work with traumatic brain injury patients and stroke patients. And she is a cancer pathologist up in Canada. So the quality of medical professionals with this company is jaw-dropping. We have a vet that works with the USDA right now as we speak, another vet who was the lead research vet with Merck Pharmaceuticals who developed ivermectin and HeartGuard. So the quality of medical professionals is honestly astounding here. And again, more credibility. For those of you that are athletes, these are some of the people who are either customers or distributors. We have triathletes, international cycling champions, NCAA wrestling champions, professional volleyball players, professional surfers, Olympians and X Game champions. This man is a customer, not a distributor. He actually rode in the Derby and the Preakness this year. Professional baseball players and bodybuilders. Again, that is actually my personal customer as well, not a distributor with us. And what I love about this is these athletes, they use our products because they work, not because they're paid endorsements. We don't pay athletes to endorse our products. So they're using it because they get this outcome. They can train harder, they can train longer, and train more often. And that's helping them speed their recovery, optimize their training, and in the big end run, getting them back on the court or the pool or the mat so they can maximize their performance there. We also have several authors who have spoken about our products. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is from CNN. He's a neurosurgeon. He's written about our product in 5 pages of his book, several other books. You can ask whoever invited you to this to get you some of those other authors that have written about our Nrf2 activator. And then finally, this is one of the people that matter to me a lot. His name's Dr. Brian Dixon. He is our Senior VP of Research and Development, just joined us this year. He is a graduate of Oregon State University, a published author, and did several studies related to Nrf2 activation, glutathione synthesis, which we know boosts 300% with our Nrf2 activator, alpha lipoic acid, which is in our NRF1 activator, and now is significantly involved in bringing our NAD activator to the market. So huge credibility. We've just got a couple more slides I just want to close with here to give you a little bit of background on the company, because you've probably not heard of us before tonight. So our company started as a biotech company called Lifeline Therapeutics. It was founded by scientists who have won international awards, published hundreds of different peer-reviewed studies. In 2005, we came out with our Nrf2 activator, and it was featured on ABC Primetime, the investigative journalism show. You see John Quinones in the slide there. He took our Nrf2 activator and had his oxidative stress levels decrease by 46% in just 2 weeks. So he actually outperformed the study. Some people have run into him. He is still taking our Nrf2 activator to this day. And we got all sorts of attention, and our sales jumped from a couple $1 million all the way up to 7 million, but then they dropped again. We were only selling about half a bottle per store per month. So we were in places like Rite Aid and your health food supplement stores, and it wasn't moving. And so we hired some consultants to say, why is this amazing product with all of these amazing studies not moving off the shelves? And it was because people needed to explain how it worked. We've been on this call for about 45 minutes tonight just talking about that. They said, look, it's right next to vitamin C. Nobody understands what Nrf2 is compared to vitamin C. You need somebody to tell the story. And so to tell that story, we switched to direct sales in 2009. Our sales were about $3 million. They had dropped back down. By 2012, they jumped to $100 million. And over the last 6 years, they've been around $200 million. Just this year, at the end of fiscal year 2019, we had $226 million in sales, a record for us. But the other thing that mattered to me when I looked at this company is that we are publicly traded on the NASDAQ. We are on the same stock exchange as Amazon, Google, Facebook, Apple. Big deal. There's about 10,000 companies in network marketing, and they hide their secrets. Honestly, there's only 20 of them that are publicly traded where you can go look behind the curtain, right? We all that are publicly traded companies have to file reports every quarter with the US government, Securities and Exchange Commission. You can go look at those reports yourself. They talk about our products. They talk about where we are financially. So for me, that was very, very important. But even more important, when I looked at those, I was shocked. And this is why. What you see on the screen is the institutional investors who have purchased our stock at this company. And so direct sales companies, they don't have hedge funds and mutual funds. These hedge funds and mutual funds, think of them like the Shark Tank money kind of guys, right? These are the Warren Buffetts of the world. These are millionaires and billionaires who invest money for other millionaires and billionaires. So Renaissance Technology is the most successful hedge fund on Wall Street. They've returned an average of 30% return on their investment to their investors over the last 20 years. They built their model off of being mathematicians and statisticians with the Department of Defense, breaking codes. So brilliant people that have had a brilliant return. They are one of our top shareholders. BlackRock, you see there, that is the largest hedge fund on Wall Street. They control $6 trillion worth of assets. And of those assets, about 12 million of them are here in stock with LifeVantage. And then you see Vanguard, that's one of the second largest hedge funds on Wall Street. Not only does their hedge fund own our stock, but 2 different mutual funds with Vanguard own our stock as well. That total there, as of the end of August, was about $75 million. So for me, this was a big deal because I knew that these guys, they have people who specialize in pharmaceutical stocks and in anti-aging market, people that do nothing but study industry every day. And if they were investing in this company, especially because it's a direct sales company, that meant that they knew that there was something big going on here and that they believed in the science that we believe in here at LifeVantage. So that was another big piece of evidence for me. If you want to see some of that evidence, you want to see that ABC Primetime report, you can go to Biohack and Activate, and you'll see that from John Quinones. You'll have hyperlinks to some of those clinical studies that we have, those 26 peer-reviewed clinical studies. You'll hear some videos from some of those doctors that are distributors with us, and you'll hear some stories about the dog world and the horse world as well. So As we close tonight, I just want to thank you for joining me as we talk here about LifeVantage, about how we can improve our aging process using nutrigenomics and help you heal yourself using Nrf2 to combat that free radical theory of aging, NRF1 to combat the mitochondrial theory of aging, and our NAD activator to combat that SIRTUIN theory of aging. So we just want to invite you to get back to whomever invited you to this call tonight. They can answer any questions you have or get you on a call or a three-way chat with somebody if they aren't able to. But let them know if you're interested in being a customer and experiencing the crazy changes that are happening to people with our NRF1, NRF2, and NAD activators. Or if you're interested in exploring the business and going into business with us, just like those guys on Wall Street did. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. Again, my name is Michelle Lorenz. I'm very excited to have spent this evening with you.